That's a lot of saddling. Hello and welcome to the channel, where I turn video games into glass. While I'm still working on the Halloween video, I figured I'd do something small and relatively quick. This is the logo of the Edgelord himself, Shadow the Hedgehog. I've taken a calculated risk and am making the logo entirely as one piece. This second black piece I've added isn't in the original logo. I just added it to support the inner part. I use regular scissors to cut up to the paper pattern outline. I'm still debating on whether to cut 3, 4, and 5 out. They're not part of the original logo, but since I'm making this red piece all as one, I need somewhere to put hooks, so 3, 4, and 5 would be clear pieces. But now that I'm looking at it, this will definitely not be possible in glass, since it's already small enough as it is, and that's before I cut it. I could do 4 and 5. I may be able to get away with putting hooks on the spines themselves, and just having the little hook part stick up, instead of making these clear pieces. I don't know yet what I'm going to do, but I'll figure that out later. Then I used 3-bladed scissors to cut out the actual pieces. I ended up not making the small pieces out of clear glass, because I figured I could get away with just attaching the hooks on the spikes. I glue the pattern onto the pieces of glass using Elmer's glue. This is the only large red piece of glass I have, so if this breaks at any point in the process, I'm going to have to modify the pattern. If anything does break, I suspect it would be one of the spikes. I use a ring saw to cut the complicated or oddly shaped pieces that would be difficult or impossible to do by hand. I would not have been able to make this if I didn't have a ring saw, because there is no way to do this by hand. I have played the Shadow the Hedgehog game on GameCube. I really loved it as a kid. I had an urge to play it again, and wow, it does not control as well as I remembered. I got to Cosmic Fall and gave up because I was fighting both the camera and Shadow's movement speed. I forgot how fast and far Shadow moves when just barely moving the left stick. I ended up overshooting the platforms way too many times, and I quit in frustration. I do want to give it another go since I never unlocked most of the paths when I was a kid. I will admit the decision to give Shadow access to guns was a little baffling, but hey, it was 2005, and how else were you supposed to get across that Shadow was an edgelord? The grinder is used to smooth out the cuts and refine the shape. I have a habit of leaving a little more glass on the edges than I should. It's mostly because I want a little more wiggle room when grinding. While it takes longer to grind, it is better than over-grinding. I did have to use the Dremel for a couple small tight areas the grinder bit couldn't get to. Once I am happy with how the pieces fit, I wash off the paper and glue with water and dish soap. Copper foil is wrapped around the glass and pressed down with burnishing tools to ensure a snug fit. For complicated or odd-shaped pieces, hand foiling is the best method, since I don't have to fiddle with the table foiler. An X-Acto knife is used to cut the corners to fold the foil onto the edges, though I can sometimes get away with just folding the edges over. Before I foil complicated or odd shapes, I put small pieces of foil on each side to prevent the glass from showing if the foil splits. This is called saddling. Foil will split if a curve is too sharp and leave exposed glass, though what counts as too sharp kind of depends. If I'm unsure if the foil will split, I saddle it anyway just to be on the safe side. That's a lot of saddling. An X-Acto knife is used to trim the saddled foil, so it lines up with the regular foil. This entire logo had to be saddled, mostly because I wasn't really sure which areas might split and which wouldn't. It took forever to saddle everything, that's for sure. At least the soldering was pretty straightforward and easy. I use push pins to make sure the pieces won't move before I can tack them together. I use 60/40 tin lead solder to stick the pieces together, applying flux before I solder. The flux allows the solder to bond to the copper, otherwise the solder won't stick. Once all the pieces are tacked, I remove the push pins and continue soldering. I make hooks using copper wire and attach them to be able to hang the piece once it is finished. It's been a while since I've had to pull this clamp out. The clamp is to hold the project upright, so I can solder the hooks to the edge. This project is small enough that I can get away with it. I don't tighten the clamp very hard, just enough to hold the glass. Except I made a big fat whoopsie. I didn't realize it until later, but I had soldered one of the hooks too far to the right, and when I did a test hang, the logo didn't hang properly. Once everything cools down, I wash the finished project with water and dish soap, then dry it off. This is when I realized I had soldered one of the hooks in the wrong place. I fixed it before I changed the color of the solder. I use a patina made specifically for lead that will change the color from silver to black. The excess patina is rinsed off with water. The final thing I do is apply wax to slow down the natural oxidation process. If you want to know more, I have a tutorial playlist where I explain each step in more detail. This came out looking quite nice. The spikes made it a challenge to hold throughout the entire process. I definitely was stressed about this possibly breaking, but I'm really happy it didn't. I'm still amazed I was able to make the entire logo as one piece. Shadow may be an edgelord, but at least he has a nice logo. Like, share, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see me make down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all through the next pain.